my top tips on how to make that loop and make the transition from that loop into the track. Let's dive into the video. So tip number one is just jam, right? You just want to create your core drums groove or whatever inspires you the most. If you want to start with melodies, start with melodies. But me personally, I like to start off with drums, so that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Gonna load up a kick into my drum rack, just one that sounds good to me. Gonna load up a few hi-hats as well. Add it into this hats channel. Decrease the tempo. Decrease the volume on the kick and the hi-hat. Shape the hi-hat a bit using decay and sustain. Add a clap. Kind of like this one. Maybe look for a few different kicks. This one's also tight. Interesting. So I have the core drums group right here. And from then on, I usually like to add in some percussion loops. Can just add grooves that fill the core drums a bit. And I might add some shakers on top. And I can always switch out the percussion loops. And then I can start stacking grooves from here. Take a couple of these, for instance, mix them in. So once I have the core drum groove ready, I'd like to add a bass line, load up a bass preset, and start creating a simple bass groove. It's a really simple bass groove like this one here. Tip number 2, start duplicating. From this point on, you basically already have the core of your track ready. What you could do is take this entire loop here. These are a total of 8 bars and duplicate it once, twice, 3 times. So you have those 8 bars a total of 4 times. 8 times 4 is 32. So we have a 32 framework that we can work with now. So tip number 2 is really that simple. All you have to do is duplicate your loop. You can also take your entire 32 bar section and duplicate it again. So now you have a total of 64 bars. This automatically gives you more material to work with. So for the first, let's say 16 bars, we'd like to remove the bass line. So we're left just with our simple drum groove. Instantly gets the vibe going, captures the listener's attention. So I'm going to add a locator here, call this the intro drums. So we have our intro, the intro drums, and what we can do is add variation every 8 bars. So that would be the next tip. We're going to create another locator and just add tension perhaps. How do we add tension? We add tension by removing the bass. Let's say we have our kick over here, and now we can add an EQ8, this one here, add in a low cut, drag that low cut to about, let's say, 150 hertz approximately. And then we're going to automate the on and off from the EQ8. So in the first 8 bars, the EQ's off. In the second 8 bar, we add tension by removing the bass from the kick. And in this section over here, we're going to add in our core with the kick and our main bass groove. Sounds cool. Listen to that effect. Removing the kick actually adds tension. It makes you anticipate or want to have the bass back. Listen. Awesome. And it really isn't that hard, right? So you're basically working with whatever elements you already have in your track and just subtracting bass to create tension. In this part over here, we can add another locator, call this release tension. Adding tension by removing bass, releasing tension by adding that bass back in. Next tip, whenever we remove the bass, we can always add in some type of new element to accompany the transition or to make the transition sound better between the first 8 bars and the second 8 bars. Let's go through a couple of noise or interesting ear candy sounds that we could add here. Actually kind of like this flatter effect. So I'm going to take it and put it right in between these 2 sections. Going to decrease the volume, unwarp the sample, and add in some, let's say some delay. Sounds more interesting with the sound. And if we want to do a bit more than just add a small sound like this, we could always add in another transition sound. Let's add it, why not? Decrease the volume, unwarp the sound. Sounds more interesting. And we can do the same for this section over here. So let's see if we can find another interesting fill. And perhaps we can add this one here and reverse it. Cool. So what you can always do is add in tonal transition effects, like this one over here. But what you can also do is add in non-tonal transition effects. And for me personally, the best non-tonal transition effects, so the transition effects that don't have any note or tone, are ones that contain white noise. Like these ones, for example. Let's put it right here. Increase the volume maybe. That already adds to that tension buildup and the release. So adding transition sounds is a great way to fill out the void in between your main transitions here. So from this point on, when we release the tension, we can slowly add in some type of melodic element or atmosphere, pad, anything that contains melodic information that slowly starts coming in from the background. And I have a few of these atmospheric transition sounds or loopable atmosphere sounds that go well in the background here. So this sounds like this. Next tip is use filter to add in elements smoothly. So if we add in an auto filter to this layer over here, we can crank down that high cut, can open up this layer a bit more and slowly fade it in, right? So we don't get that sudden impact, but we slowly introduce our melodies. Notice how much smoother that is? Instead of having the sound just drop in straight from the beginning. I mean, this sound alone already creates a bit of anticipation and tension. So we can duplicate it from here. We have ourselves 16 bars of this loop slowly coming in. And after those 16 bars, guess what we can do? Add some more tension. How do we add tension? By removing the bass. So let's add a locator over here. Add tension. Remember this EQ8 from before? Let's actually rename it. Let's call this low cut tension adder. And then we can basically enable it again. So we add tension in this part. Right, so we have the full drum groove here. The melodies. Just by taking out the bass, guys. Creating tension really is that simple. And how do we make this transition better? Take our transition effects. So the effects that we've previously added in here, we can just drag them over and put them right in between here. So let's see how this sounds. Cool. So we're building tension. We're holding that tension here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can either reintroduce the bass back in here after 8 bars in this case, or we could hold the tension even longer for, let's say, 16 bars. I want you to keep this tip in mind, especially whenever you remove the kick or remove the bass from your track, you're creating tension. The kick and the bass, they're obviously the two main elements of your track. So if you're removing them, you're going to have to add in something to substitute those two elements. In the best case, you add in a melody. So let's do that. By the way, with the launch of Azar, there's going to be a full arrangement masterclass that's coming out simultaneously. So you can watch me transition from that 8-bar loop into a full release ready track. Stay tuned for that one. I'm going to add in Diva since it's my favorite synthesizer. I'll load it up in here. Select those 16 bars and hit Ctrl-Shift-M to create a MIDI clip. From here, we can add in some type of new melody. So whenever we're adding tension for a longer period of time like this, like 16 bars, we want to fill in that gap with a melody. We can already start drawing in our notes. So F sharp, this is the key of our track, right? So the bass line's already in F sharp. We have this pad that's in F sharp minor. So we might as well stick with the key of F sharp minor. Make sure we're on 16th mode so we can draw in a precise melody. And then what I'd like to do is turn on scale, go into minor, select our key, that is F sharp. Just going to tweak the settings here slightly and come up with an interesting pluck. So you can see these highlighted green little sections. Those are the sections that we can draw in our melody. Just following the scale over here and trying to come up with random melodies that sound good. already sounds quite cool. Let's listen to that in the entirety of the track. So we could create like this call and response. Let's copy this. I'm happy with how this sounds. So I'll take this section here, duplicate it again, and readjust it so it fits. And then take this 8-bar section here and duplicate it. And then I might add in some effects to fill in the void in between the notes. So whenever the notes aren't playing, there might be some reverb or delay. And a plugin that really goes well to do this is Echo. So I'm going to go into, let's say, audio effects, delay loop, and Echo. Load that in here. And let's set it to ping pong, add a bit of reverb here. Increase the decay on the reverb. Let's see how this sounds. So we have 2 dotted 8th delays here now. Increase the feedback. Ooh. Here's another great way to create tension by using the parameters of your synth. Let's say you have a melody like this that is introduced in your break, and you'd like to add in another way to contribute to the tension of this section here. The way you can do that is by adding cutoff automations. Every synthesizer, whether that be Diva, Serum, Vital, has a cutoff parameter like this, or a filter cutoff parameter, a way to open up the synth. By opening up sounds, or by increasing the cutoff, you create tension, and by reducing the cutoff, you release tension. So let's create some tension in this section here by automating the cutoff on the synth here. And what I'm going to do is slowly, simply increase the tension here. What I could also do is highlight this section over here, hit right click, select this shape over here. So Ableton automatically creates our tension curve. Let's hit these points here. Perfect. Move that low end. Pay attention to how the sound is opening up. It's getting brighter, more sharp. Building up tension. Awesome. That's so cool and it's fun. So much fun. And you know how we can make the transition even a bit better? By reusing the effects that we already had previously. So let's take this transition effect and put it into this section over here. So let's call this here release tension. Awesome. Next tip is a really short one, I promise. Remove the kick for a single bar before your drop. This is a really small little technique that I like to use because it creates that bit of anticipation before the drop or the chorus is supposed to hit. Listen to what that does. Use that trick. It's going to help you a lot. So let's get back to the main part here. Let's duplicate this pad over here. And then we can add in some more transition effects from before to make the transition even better here. Awesome. So let's say this release tension part. Let's take it and duplicate it once. So this would be our, let's say, chorus drop 1.2. Let's add in another transition here. And in the second part of the chorus, this chorus or drop 1.2, we can take the melody that we've previously introduced in this tension part over here and simply add it here. And now we can edit the automation. So it starts off very small, maybe create a bit of a different curve. Let's see how this sounds. Already creating a bit more tension, right? Take out the kick for a bar here, trick I showed you previously. And what we can do from here to extend the arrangement is copy this main part and put it right here. So these are 8 bars, and then we take out the melody from here. Don't forget our transitions. Next tip, let's create a break. So what I'm going to do is take this main part over here from our chorus, right? So duplicate that. And by the way, we can set another locator here. So add tension brackets melody. So this is the section where we reintroduce our melody and build a bit of tension for the next part. And this part we're going to call release tension. Cool. So let's say we're building towards our break now. And in order to create a lot more tension, you can completely remove the kick and completely remove the bass from a section as I did here. And if we add a transition to accompany that, let's listen to how it sounds now. Where's the kick and bass? It's not there. There's a lot of suspense now. So I'm going to take this small little sound here and add in another transition sound from Ambiente. Like this one, for example. Now it's getting tense. And remember the tip that I gave you beforehand? When we remove the bass over a longer period of time, we can use that opportunity to add in a new melodic element. So either we can reintroduce the melody that we had beforehand, or we can introduce something new to create some more interesting melodic variation. So let's, as a matter of fact, duplicate the diva layer that we had before. Let's call this dupe. And let's delete this here. Delete this here. So we want to start from scratch. I'm also going to delete the automation that we have here and add in some tension notes. Let's create a new MIDI clip. Create like these small 16th note patterns. Let's actually shift it up an octave. Turn off our echo for now. Awesome. So just the 16th note pattern here, duplicate that until the end. Let's just take it from here. There we go. And then same thing, use the cutoff to slowly introduce the sound. Opening up a sound introduces more tension. So what I'm going to do is hit this cutoff frequency knob here and increase the cutoff from here. So we're going to slowly bring that in. But I still feel like that isn't enough. So what I'm going to do is add in an auto filter and slowly bring it in using this additional filter cutoff. And as a matter of fact, let's re-enable that echo effect from before. Slowly control the sound. Oha, okay. Interesting. It's that epic build-up moment. And now we could either choose to create a really massive break where all elements stop, or we can choose to release that tension and create our next drop. So what I'd like to do is copy this section over here, put it here. Let's call this section over here mini break / build. This is what I like to do when I want to have longer arrangements in my track, include in multiple mini breaks like these. Mini breaks are a fantastic opportunity to always introduce some type of new melodic sound or chord progression. So we build tension here, and then we take our bass back. And now we could either choose to leave this arpeggio in the duplicate layer, or introduce some new element in the chorus or in the release. So let's add a locator, call this release tension drop 2. And in this section, I could reintroduce probably my melody. Let's drag it in. So we're using what we already have to extend the arrangement. Yeah. And you know what? Let's go ham. Let's duplicate our hi-hat layer. Remove all the other hi-hats from here. And let's say we want to add in a new hi-hat, like an open hi-hat, to add some energy to this drop. So what we could do is head into Azar. Yeah, let's add this one in here. Decrease the volume and see how this sounds. add a new drum element perhaps. Duplicate from here. Take this section, duplicate from here. Remember to add in those transitions every few bars. So I'm just going to take it and duplicate it here. Perhaps add in a new sound here. Add in a new sound here. Maybe, you know what? I might as well take the little ARP that we had in the mini break or build and put it right back here. Why not? Might want to add a different auto filter curve. And from here on, we could slowly build out the track. So we're removing elements, right? Can also leave the bass in. Take out the bass from here. Let's call this decrease energy. So now we're taking out the energy from the track. Cool, and what we're doing from now on is basically duplicating. And then I can start taking out some of the melodic elements like this pad. Slowly reducing it. Duplicate it again. Maybe take out the kick in this last section here, as well as the main hi-hat or the open hi-hat. Cool, and add in a transition sound to end the track. So arrangement truly is that simple. If you like this video, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button, grab these sounds using the links down below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. La la la.